I am the bone of my sword. Steel is my body, and fire is my blood. I have created over 1,000 blades, unknown to death, nor known to life, have withstood pain to create many weapons. Yet those hands will never hold anything. So as I pray, unlimited blade works.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Super Anime Bros podcast. Today, I'm your host, Angelo, joined by my brother, Rosario, and we're going to talk about something we love.
All right. Try to change it up a little bit there for you.
Yeah, we're changing it up.
To celebrate our deep dive today of Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, my number 10 show on our favorite anime countdown. So I'm really excited to get to talk about this one. I've typed up quite a few notes to go over.
Yeah, it's a lot. I feel like you're definitely going to be doing a little bit more talking than I. Obviously, I do have plenty to talk about with the show. And we rewatched a couple episodes the other day, and I think that helped me out remember a lot of things, because I asked you a lot of questions, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what happened here, that's what happened here.
Yeah,
like,
it helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a little refresher.
Yeah, it goes a long way.
It's been a little bit. It hasn't been too long since we watched it, but enough for me to miss and really forget some of the smaller details.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anything that you've only watched one time, I feel like that's the case with. But yeah, I mean, I'll start off this week just like we did last with the My Anime List summary, and then I also wrote my own one-paragraph summary, and then we'll just get rolling right into things. Sound good to you?
Yeah, sounds awesome.
All right. So this was from My Anime List. The Holy Grail War is a battle royale among 7 mages who serve as masters. Masters, through the use of command seals they are given when they enter the war, command heroic spirits known as servants to fight for them in battle. In the 5th Holy Grail War, Rin Tosaka is among the mages entering the competition. With her servant archer, she hopes to obtain the ultimate prize, the Holy Grail, a magical artifact capable of granting its wielder any wish. One of Rin's classmates, Shiro Emiya, accidentally enters the competition and ends up commanding a servant of his own known as Saber. As they find themselves facing mutual enemies, Rin and Shiro decide to form a temporary alliance as they challenge their opponents in the Holy Grail War. So yeah, there's a lot there, huh? A lot there. Not your everyday type of show, which I think makes this really special to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that that's something that normally happens.
But for my own, to kind of expound on that a little bit, I said that each master calls upon a legendary servant, a heroic spirit. For example, King Arthur, Medusa, Hercules. Our hero Shiro finds himself dragged into the war after being in the wrong place at the wrong time as the war begins. We don't know much about Shiro's past, but in the previous Grail War 10 years ago, he was left with nothing. We see him as a child laying in a burning hellscape of what was the finale of the war previous. And he's saved by a man whom ends up raising him kind of as his son. And that, leads him into much of who he becomes. The previous wars is mentioned throughout the story, as Rin's father also fought in the war. And it was a bloodbath, we'll say. Mm-hmm. I mean, as a battle royale kind of sounds like it will be. But that previous war is actually shown in Fate Zero, which came out around the same time as this version of Stay Night, actually. But I have not finished that yet. I know the way things are going to go down through some of the things in this, and through some things I've heard elsewhere. But I'm sure once I finish that show, it'll also rank pretty highly on my list, because I really enjoy this whole concept of calling upon historical figures to fight with you in battle. It's just, I don't know, it's super cool. Yeah, it's out there, but it's super cool.
I think that's definitely one of the things that makes it unique. It's not like they're just summoning different heroes. Like, these are based on or are historical figures, which I think gives it a little bit of uniqueness.
Yeah, without
it's something that I really thought was cool about it.
Without a doubt. So our first character, Shiro Emiya, raised by Kiritsugu. I don't know how to say his name.
I think that was right. I don't know. That sounded right.
Also, Emiya. He has taken on his father or his master or razor. I don't know what I want to say. Taken on his ideal as that man was a hero to Shiro and saved his life from the previous war. Shiro wants to become a hero of justice, someone who will stop sadness from happening in the world, stop bad things, and obviously no one man can do that, but this guy is completely resigned to that idea, and it drives him so much farther than anybody else with a goal could have gone. He really lives for this and cannot be stopped, which is super cool to see throughout. I mean, I think that one of the biggest things that makes him an awesome protagonist is just an undying will. No matter how bad things get, like only death will stop him. He truly has an indomitable spirit, which is really cool to see. And as a protagonist, that's something I think I can really get behind. He's pretty powerless as a mage at the beginning, but as things go on, he develops pretty strong power with some help from a different servant, actually. But yeah, he's an awesome MC. I really enjoy him. But the question is, will he become this hero of justice that he desires to be?
Who's to say? Yeah, I absolutely agree with your opinions on Shiro. I think it's awesome that he really just won't give up. And having that indomitable spirit is really awesome to see. Even when there's times where he's like the episode we just watched. I don't know how much spoilery.
I'll talk about that.
You'll be talking about that more, but yeah, there's times where he's really can't do anything, but he just won't give up. He'll do really whatever he can, which it's pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that in general, that kind of attitude could darn well get you killed, especially in a world like this. But being that he's the main protagonist, I think he's got a little bit of plot armor in that way, but he's super cool. Yeah,
but he's also resilient enough to not give up. There's times where he's in situations where he could have easily died, but he did survive.
That's true. I mean, that's the story to be told.
Mm-hmm.
But Shiro's servant is Saber. Saber was also actually the previous servant of Shiro's father in the war before. Known to be the strongest servant, she is limited in her power because of Shiro's limited capabilities as a mage. The servants feed off the mage's magic, and to make them stronger or weaker depending on that. And because Shiro's not the strongest, she's held back a little bit, I would say, but still is incredibly powerful. Such an iconic character, just awesome design. I think that even if you haven't seen Fate, you've probably seen Saber, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But she, in her previous life, before I'm gonna spoil all kinds of stuff. I mean, I think that's just kind of how these deep dives go.
Yeah, I'd say so. So yeah, spoiler warning.
So I'm just gonna kind of rip into things here. But Saber, in her previous life, was King Arthur. A little bit of a gender bender there, but it doesn't really matter. And she lives with intense regret from that previous life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not totally familiar. I did some research on some of the characters for this. I'm not totally familiar with King Arthur and his end, but the way it's kind of portrayed in Fate is that Saber wasn't able to save her people, and I think that pushes her forward. I think that she would like to wish for something along the lines of, saving her people if she's to win the Grail. But she's also a super loyal servant and a crazy strong fighter. Will do anything to protect Shiro, regardless of how weak and powerless he may be at the beginning. And her Excalibur attack is one of the coolest in anime, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Yeah, Saber's awesome, man.
Moving on to Rin. So Rin is the heir to a very powerful magic family. As I said, her father fought in the war previous. And in Fate Zero, they actually give you a little bit more background about main families who fight in this war every time it happens. This is the 5th iteration of things. And I think usually it does not happen 10 years apart. I think that is because the previous one, spoiler, didn't really have a full conclusion, I think. Like I said, I haven't finished Fate Zero, but that's kind of how it's talked about in this one. But regardless, Rin has been training for years and years and years to win this Holy Grail. I mean, it's so. I'm just gonna keep spoiling stuff because it's so important to the characters, and it feels wrong, but I have to do it.
You know what I mean? You want me to just start dishing out spoilers?
No, I don't. You know what I mean?
I could do that if you want.
Anyway, this episode will be more enjoyable once somebody's watched the show. So, or it will ruin the enjoyment if somebody hasn't seen the show. So it's fine. I think that's we're just gonna have to grapple with that.
Because a couple my favorite and least favorite thing, 2 scenes or things in particular are both pretty big spoilers.
Well, yeah, I mean we're gonna talk about the one for sure. We're gonna talk about everything. I'm just saying, in general, as we get closer to the end of this list and talk about famous anime and break them down fully and stuff that's finished, I'm just going to have to understand that we're going to say spoilers.
We could also try to keep some of it more towards the end so people can click off.
Yeah.
Once they're if they really want to, they're compelled to watch and don't want any spoilers.
I guess maybe that's the synopsis at the beginning, and then the rest of this is actually getting into it. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go, but I am going to continue spoiling things.
Sounds good. Can't wait.
So Rin's father was killed in the previous war. We don't at first know what happened, but at the end,
that's a Fate Zero spoiler.
Well, yeah, I know.
Well, I haven't seen that.
Well, they talk about it in this.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Well, that's one of those details I missed.
That's a big detail.
Yeah, I guess he's not really around, so... Sorry to interrupt. Continue, please.
No, it's okay. Candid stuff is good. But she's an incredibly powerful mage. Uses gem magic, which I think is pretty interesting and unique. Maybe it's not. I haven't seen other magic shows, but still, I think it's unique. But Rin teams up with Shiro pretty early on in things. Initially, she tries to help him out as the war's getting started, and then says they're going to fight each other, and then they just kind of don't. There's one scene where they're running around the school that they go to together, and she's throwing magic at him, but after that, they're pretty cool. Yeah, she's just completely bound by this duty of her family name and the magic passed down upon her, which really pushes her forward, as well as, I would say, the bond that she grows with Shiro as things go along. Not that romance is a main focus of the show at all, but it is certainly an underlying thing there between Rin and Shiro. So that definitely is an aspect of things. Also, for you waifu fans out there, Rin is at the top of my list, so there's that.
Wow, you're spoiling our waifu countdown. It's coming eventually.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to do that.
Who's to say?
Yeah, I mean, Rin's great, man. I don't know, does she count as a magical girl?
I mean, she's a mage, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is that too much to say?
I don't know. Maybe the internet has the answer.
Oh, yeah, but yeah, Rin's awesome.
The perfect tsundere. In my opinion.
I could agree with that. I mean, you're more of a tsundere guy than me, but yeah, Rin's awesome. I'm more of a Saber fan myself.
I mean, Saber's great. Saber's such a strong character.
Yeah, absolutely.
But both strong women, which is awesome. Alrighty, moving on to our next character, and then we'll kind of speed things up through the rest of the characters and go from there. The next character is Archer. This is Rin's servant. A mysterious hero whose identity is really unclear. Not even he knows the answer to who he is. It's played at the beginning. He has just no recollection of his memories or anything. And he was not the hero that Rin was trying to summon. So, for some backstory with it, when you're summoning your hero, there's like specific chants you can do, I think, and then also you need to have a relic of the hero to summon them. And she was trying to summon Saber, but summons Archer instead. For reasons maybe we'll get into in a little bit. But, yeah, it's not the pairing that she was hoping for. However, they do, I feel, grow quite fond of each other. Mm-hmm. Archer's pretty cool. I mean, obviously with his name, he will use a bow and arrow a lot. But also, as things progress, uses two dual-wielding swords.
I think he uses the swords in like the first episode.
He probably does, yeah. He uses swords a lot.
I'm like, that makes sense.
For an
Archer guy,
yeah.
he uses swords.
But no, he's super cool, very strong. Yeah, we don't really know who he is, but regardless of that, he's awesome. He's really against the alliance with Shiro, like really, really against it. It is very cold to Shiro. Though as things go along, he does help Shiro with his magic. But also, we get to the point where like Archer's whole thing is, I want to kill Shiro.
Yeah, doesn't he like cut Shiro's back all up or something?
And one of the fights, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, like he slices him up.
And then he helps him.
Then he helps him. He teaches him magic.
I mean,
That's not a fair trade.
It was important. It was incredibly fair trade if you read the rest of the show.
I guess.
Yeah, but toward the second half, it says he wants to kill Shiro.
Yeah, that's his shtick.
And we'll get into reasons why in just a little bit.
Yeah, when we get into the heavy spoiler section.
But we'll talk about the rest of the pairings, and then we'll get into that. So the next pairing, Shinji and Gilgamesh. Originally Shinji and Ryder. Ryder is slain pretty early on by...
Is it Lancer?
Caster.
Oh, Caster. I didn't know.
Ryder's actually super cool. Ryder's featured... I don't know if she's... So I guess at this point I should probably say, and should have said way earlier on, that Fate Stay Night is broken up into 3 routes, all of which are animated.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal.
It is. It's a huge deal. All of which are animated in different ways. Because originally Fate Stay Night was a visual novel game, and there was a main route and then 2 extra routes after that. This is one of the second routes. Not that I think any one of them is the main one at this point, but that is important to note.
It's kind of like, you get to pick your favorite.
Yeah, for sure, which is super cool.
Which it seems like there's different like tones and stuff from what I've heard.
The way my buddy Ant, who showed me this, shout out Ant, you're the goat, explained it is that there's a good ending, an okay ending, and a bad ending. I've seen the bad ending for sure.
So which is this, the good or the okay?
I don't know if this is the good or the okay.
Okay.
Maybe I'll find out. But the original Fate Stay Night was animated in 2006, I think. Mm-hmm. This came out in 14 or 15. And then Heaven's Feel, the final route, came out just after that in a set of 3 movies. I've seen Unlimited Blade Works and Heaven's Feel. I like Unlimited Blade Works a lot better. Heaven's Feel has an incredibly darker tone. And there's just some stuff in there that I just...
Was that even on your list?
No, it's actually not on my list, which it definitely should be at some point.
Okay.
Well, we'll revise
when we do the list version, too.
I mean, there's a ton of stuff we need to...
We'll go back and...
Yeah. Well, even just for our own sake, we should revise the list fairly soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And present it way later. Anyway, Ryder's featured a lot more prevalently in Heaven's Feel. But in this one, she dies off pretty early. And then Shinji repairs up with Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh, who was still around after fighting in the war 10 years prior as Rin's father's servant. I think that something may go on there because he's real slimy at the beginning of Fate Zero. Gilgamesh was just kind of hanging around for 10 years. And now, sees his shot to win the Grail, so he pairs off with Shinji. I described them both as evil AF. I think that kind of just fits.
Yeah, they suck.
I mean, Shinji sucks. He's the worst character in all of Fate. Gilgamesh is actually pretty cool. He's just an a-hole.
He's at least strong and an ass.
Yes.
Like, Shinji's weak
and an ass.
Yeah. Like, there's some characters that I think can pull off being pure evil. I don't think Gilgamesh does that for me, but I could understand why he would do that for you.
I don't think also don't think Gilgamesh is pure evil.
He's doing... What has he done? Anything that's not absolutely terrible?
Also, he's Gilgamesh. He's the king of heroes. Like, he is the original king. Like, he's just... All he knows is that he should rule the world, and that is his plan. That is his goal.
I mean, I would say that kind of makes you a bad guy.
For sure. I guess that's fair. That's fair. Maybe I back down a little bit after saying that all out loud.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try to defend
No, you're right. I shouldn't.
I mean, he's got a... I see here, you said he can be pretty cool. He's got a sick fit in Fate Zero.
Yeah, his all gold outfit's amazing. In this, he just kind of wears normal clothes because
he's got like a track jacket.
I
mean, it's still cool, but
yeah,
it's not a suit of gold.
No, certainly not. But Gilgamesh is really, really cool. The spirits all have powers. They're all kind of put into a specific class, but they all have what is called a noble phantasm, which is kind of like an ultimate move.
Yeah, basically.
And his ultimate move is like he has an unlimited bank of weapons that he's collected over the years, or I don't know how it works, but just an unlimited bank of weapons that he can pull from, and he just kind of fires them from the sky. In the previous Fate, he was the archer class, which I think kind of makes sense with that, but just overwhelmingly powerful. The first half of the show, he's not really featured a whole lot, but the second half of the show, he becomes the main antagonist and is the one with whom the final battle is with. So yeah, interesting there. Next, you have Ilya and Berserker. We definitely learn more about her through Fate Zero, but more or less she's kind of related to Shiro in the sense that she is seemingly the daughter of the man who raised him.
Seemingly?
Definitely. I mean, I haven't finished Fate Zero, so I don't know things for sure, but seemingly.
Yeah, I would assume.
But she's kind of like just made for the war. In one of the other routes, that's explained a little bit better. But
yeah, isn't she like genetically modified?
I don't know.
I think I read too that she's
They're all
like
kind of like clones.
I think she's like also like Shiro's age.
She's older than Shiro.
Okay,
but she's
but
like
she
kind of a
like
little kid.
Yeah,
because in Heaven's Fields, she says that he's his big sister. Anyway, Berserker, her hero, is a giant monster who doesn't talk, whose heroic spirit is Hercules. I think everybody's kind of familiar with Hercules. He's super cool. I'm not like overly familiar with the lore behind Hercules, but Berserker's noble phantasm is then he has like 12 lives. But then even after that, he can push past his limit and comes back a 13th time. Unfortunately, that doesn't matter for Berserker, as he is slain by Gilgamesh in the beginning of the second half of the show. But really, really cool character. And through a little bit of backstory with Ilya, is shown to like truly care for her, which, you know, as Berserker, who's just a crazy monster, you know, you wouldn't think that, but it's a pretty cool dynamic they have, regardless of how unfortunate it may end.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Next, we have Kyrie and Lancer. Kotomina Kyrie, I think. Huge character in Fate Zero. Huge character. Yeah.
Is he a rat bastard?
He is a rat bastard.
Fate Zero as well.
Yes, he's a rat bastard.
Like, I don't think I actually might dislike him more than Gilgamesh.
Interesting. So Kyrie in Fate Zero is like main enemies with Emiya. He's aligned with Tosaka at first, though it is revealed at the end of this, and of course it's in Zero, I haven't gotten that far, but it is revealed in this that he killed Rin's father, which is a huge plot point for Rin, who was trained by him as she was, you know, they were thought to be friends, her father and him.
Yes, she looked up to him a lot, I'd say.
But yeah, so he's a real rat bastard.
Yeah, he's the worst.
He's also like the priest who's supposed to be overseeing the war.
Yeah, he's not supposed to be.
But has skin in the game.
Yeah,
too.
He's got his own servant.
Yeah.
The best one,
I
perhaps.
wouldn't say the best one.
My favorite one.
But my note for Kirie here is that this is not his route. We'll talk about his end a little bit later. And just with how prevalent he is in Zero, clearly he's a main player in all of this. But in this route, that's not really the case. Definitely more in Heaven's Feel. But I really imagine that the original Fate route's going to be the one where he's still a just absolute major player. But as for Lancer, he's actually pretty cool. He does help out our heroes from time to time, which is cool to have a servant of another person helping you. I wrote it down here. It doesn't really come into play too much in the show, but all of the heroes have like stats. I could do probably like a 3-hour video on all of this and get real nerdy with it. But all of the heroes have stats, and his luck stat is like 0. He's got like terrible luck, which is really funny, and they make fun of that in like a sideshow that doesn't matter. But
Does it matter?
well, it matters, but I'm not going to get into it. Anyway, Lancer is Kukulian. I think I said that correct, actually. An Irish and Scottish folk hero and demigod. I mean, there's a ton of lore behind him. The way my friend described it was kind of like Irish Hercules. I don't know. I mean, he's crazy strong. We'll say that. His noble phantasm and also weapon is a spear called Gable, and the like main attack you can do with it is throw it like crazy fast right at your heart, and it never misses. So, I mean, that's pretty awesome. Lancer's got a fun attitude. He's a really cool character, and I know you're a fan. So
I mean, I would agree. He's my favorite character in the show.
That's all right.
You know, it starts off a little rough
Respect.
because he like basically kills Shiro in the first ep.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then starts like, who does he fight with first, Archer or Saber?
Archer is the first one.
Because he fights with, he brawls with a lot of them, but he's just kind of following his orders. But as the show goes on, he ends up teaming up with to help Rin and Shiro.
Yeah.
And there's a really cool moment which I saw you had later, which we'll talk about then. But yeah, that fight we just rewatched with him and Archer was so cool.
It is great. Yeah.
That made me like him even more.
It is great. Yeah.
Yeah, because his noble phantasm was so cool.
It is pretty sick.
His lance or spear.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I like him. His fighting style
it is a lance.
is cool. But I really do like his. Well, I wouldn't
pretty
say
flashy,
it's a lance. It's
which
more
is
of a
cool.
spear. Lance is like what they used to joust with.
I don't know. I mean, his name's Lancer. So.
Well, that's his class.
yeah, that's fair enough.
But yeah, he's just cool. But his fighting style is also really, really. I enjoyed watching it a lot. It's fun to watch. But yeah, for me, it's his attitude and the stuff he says and does, which made me like him the best.
For sure.
And I'm always not always, but I'm a real fan of side characters.
Yeah,
in a lot of shows, I'll pick a side character and I'll like them the
fact.
best. And for this show, it happens to be Lancer.
Sounds good. The last pairing we'll talk about here is Kuzuki and Caster. Kuzuki is a teacher with nothing to live for. Said through his own words, he just really has nothing, doesn't care about anything. Does eventually find a will to live to grant Caster's wish, which I don't really think he even knows what it is. And I mean, spoilers, she does say at their end that he has helped grant it, which I think is kind of like, I don't know, them being there for each other.
Yeah, couldn't they have just not participated in the war and then started a new life?
I don't know. Who's?
Well, I don't think that was really realized until the end.
Yeah, I don't know how if the spirits can live on or what. I don't know. But Caster is Medea from Greek mythology, a tragic princess whom was labeled as a witch. Not sure of the full story. I did read some stuff previously, but she was scorned by love, and being called a witch previously really messed with her, and then after the love thing went sideways, she killed people and stuff.
Is she
really
an elf?
Became a witch. She does have pointy ears.
She had elf ears in the show when we watched it yesterday. I don't remember her being.
I'm not sure. She's from
know.
Greek mythology.
I don't know my Greek mythology, so you let us know.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, really, really tragic. Pushed to a place where she does bad stuff. and is, I would say, the main villain of the first half plus the first couple episodes of the show until she's eventually defeated. Yeah, she's pretty cool though. Like the just magic's awesome. Her noble phantasm is a sword called Rule Breaker, which kind of allows her to do whatever she wants.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
including like summoning.
Yeah. She summons her own servant.
Yeah, who you didn't put on here.
No, I didn't.
Assassin. I think he's really cool too. He has not that much like going on. You see him fight like twice. He can't leave the temple where he lives.
I think he's bound to the temple, which is like her magic
her original,
haven.
Yeah, her original HQ.
And because of that, like I think it's because she summoned him that he's limited.
But his fight, he fights twice.
Saber, yeah.
Yeah, his fights with Saber are really awesome, and he's cool. He's like a warrior through and through.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see somebody who's like just an honest fighter.
I think Ant described him as Japan's second most famous samurai.
Like in this show of like a bunch of backstabbing SOBs, it's kind of cool to see somebody who like truly values honor.
Yes, for sure. Honorable through and through. Sorry to not mention him.
It's fine. I added that, so that was my contribution.
Yeah. So just let's touch on a couple plot points before we get to the big twist in the ending.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, in the beginning, Shiro's at school as the fight's beginning. He has no clue what's going on. Kind of sees some stuff and starts to run away. Then Lancer comes and kills him because he saw. Then Tosaka's there also, and she saves him with this jewel. Cool stuff there.
Yeah, remember that jewel.
Yeah, remember the jewel. I forget. As we were talking, there was other stuff I wanted to say, but now I forget. But yeah, I mean, as things go, first half of the thing, like I said, Castor is the main villain. She definitely gets, I would say, the upper hand at points. I mean, I guess this is on favorite parts, so maybe we don't need to talk about it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we talk about the favorite parts in order, then the plot twist. Yeah.
Okay.
So, first awesome part, the very beginning. Shiro's alive again, but also Archer or Lancer, I forget which one, knows it and I think is chasing him, ends up back at his house, and he's like scrambling.
No, I think it's Archer because I think Rin uses a command strip. What do they call it? A command seal to make Archer stop attacking him or stop fighting Saber or something.
Okay. Yeah.
But it might be, I think Lancer might go after him again. I don't know. Lancer in the beginning, I didn't like him, obviously, because, killing the main MC, the MC is kind of a rough start. But
yeah, Shiro kind of accidentally summons Saber. He's on like a transmutation circle. I don't know what it's called. I think that's kind of what it's called in Full Metal. I'm not sure. Anyway, he's on a magic circle.
Yeah.
And unbeknownst to him, Shiro has a healing scabbard of sabers that his father used in the previous war as like inside him as part of him. And this is the magical artifact that he uses to then summon her. And the shot of him just lying on the ground, all like scared and bloody, and then Saber standing over top of him, like saying, I am your servant. It's like the most iconic shot. It's so sweet.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
Oh, you're such a piece.
I'm sure it's very iconic.
You're such a piece.
I'm sorry. Are you looking it up?
I am.
I'll definitely remember it once.
I'm going to show you it, but yeah, I mean, it's so sick.
Okay, never mind, guys.
You know what I mean?
That's iconic. Yeah,
good podcasting.
We can make it the thumbnail. When we make the post about it on Instagram, we'll include that picture. How about that?
Sounds good, yeah.
Okay, and you'll know which one we're talking about.
Yeah, but that's super cool at the beginning. As we go through, every fight's sick, in my opinion. I'll talk a little bit about at the end about the animation studio, but like...
Yeah, the fights were all, I think, pretty good. Like, choreography-wise, they were good to watch. They didn't ever get boring.
Yeah,
there was
pretty unique.
I mean, I don't remember some of the fights, but Archer's always cool. Is it the one? I think it's the first fight when they fight Berserker, where Archer's like on a rooftop, like miles
on
away,
a bridge.
while Saber's fighting. Oh, is he on a bridge? Yeah, I don't know. I just remember he's like far away or something.
Yeah.
that fight was cool. Yeah, the assassin one I said I liked. I said I liked the Lancer Archer one later in the show, and then obviously there's some bigger plot point ones, and then there's one fight that I don't like.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that I don't like the fight. I don't like the ending.
I already
though.
spoiled it. You can talk about it.
Okay, yeah. So the one I remember, I was like real upset after this
you were
happened
pissed.
with the fight with what is it, Ilya?
Yeah.
Ilya, Berserker, and Gilgamesh, because he like butchers Gilgamesh. Not Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh butchers Berserker, which is kind of rough to see because, like, the first half of the season they were hyping up Berserker so much, and you were like hyping up Berserker.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
I mean,
oh
he's
wow,
mad,
it's like because he's like
Hercules.
winning
He's crazy
against
strong,
Saber.
yeah.
Like I'm like, oh, is he the strongest? Because I thought Saber was the strongest. You're like, oh, he might be, and then like he gets his butt whooped.
Yeah.
And like in a pretty gruesome way, and then like Gilgamesh really gruesomely murders Ilya, and I hated that. I know like technically she's not a kid, but like watching him like rip out the heart of a little girl upset me very much.
I'm sorry.
And to
It's
the point where I'm
animated.
like, screw this show.
Yeah.
But like, you know, that if that's my only complaint, then you know it's a pretty good show.
Yeah.
It just like that really bothers me.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean he rips out her heart to be like the
For the vessel,
Grail.
yeah.
The whole Grail thing's really confusing.
Like I get it, but like the other person that's used for the Grail doesn't get gruesomely murdered.
No, they don't.
And he's the worst.
Spoiler for Heaven's Feel, but she like offers herself to be the Grail in that one. It's like her duty.
Oh, does she always die horrifically?
Well, this one isn't horrifically in Heaven's Feel. It's a beautiful moment actually, but yeah, maybe I don't know what happens in the Fate round.
Yeah, that just upset me very much.
Yeah, I recall. Let's not upset you again. Let's keep rolling.
Man.
You talk about that under the favorite parts section.
Well, it was the least favorite part. There was no least favorite part section. I was looking for it. It wasn't there.
It wasn't in the least favorite parts section.
Well, there's only one.
Fair enough. And then forward into the Part 1 finale. The episode we just watched in prepping for this, one of the episodes. One of my favorite episodes ever in anything. It's so good. The first half of it's kind of slice of lifey with Rin, Saber, and Shiro just hanging out. They go for like a picnic. They go to a batting cage.
Yeah, I mean that's great.
It's awesome. And they're just hanging out. And then, surprise, Castor sets a trap, and they begin fighting. But Castor has what?
She kidnapped.
That's what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Castor has kidnapped. He calls her Fujini as like his older sister, but a teacher from school who, I think like his father was there for. I don't know if she was like a homeless kid or something. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. But she kind of like raises him after his father's gone. I don't really know what happens to his dad, to be honest. Maybe it's expounded on in Zero, but maybe not.
They definitely. I think they mention it in this, don't they?
No, I don't know.
I don't know. I can look it up.
Because obviously he lives
You want me
through
to
it
look
to
it up?
save. No, I don't.
All right, then we'll find
That could
out
be a
when we
spoiler.
watch.
Anyway,
Fate Zero.
So Castor has kidnapped her and is threatening to kill her if Shiro doesn't hand over his command seals. And he's just going to do it because he will do anything to save the life of others.
And his hand.
Yeah, true. She's going to cut off his hand. It makes it seem like. But then Saber just steps in after Shiro saying no, don't, and then Saber's fighting. Shiro uses a command seal to get Saber to stop. The command seals, you have 3 of them, I think, and can use them at any time to just get the servant to do whatever you say, because the relationship with the servant isn't always perfect.
No.
But he does this. She stops fighting right in front of Castor. Castor then uses her rule breaker sword to steal Saber from Shiro to give herself command seals and a servant, which is an insane twist of things. It is just such a low. Archer comes and kind of saves the day so they can get out of there. He does save his big sis, but it's such a low to end things on as they're like leaving, and you just turn back and see Saber just crying with Castor behind, and just utter defeat. A real low for Shiro. He also gets stabbed. That's pretty crazy because Castor sends Saber after Rin, and Saber has to do it. And Shiro jumps in front of Rin and takes a sword through his shoulder.
And in the same episode, he's back up ready to fight again.
And that's a fact. And that just
shows his resilience,
him,
you know? With no servant, no power.
Nothing, yeah. Yeah,
well,
a little bit of power.
But, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that episode perfectly embodies kind of, exactly what you're saying there. Absolute resilience. He has a pact with Rin that until Castor is defeated, they're going to fight together, and he's not going to break that. So the season kind of, I don't know if it's a season or part. It doesn't really matter. But ends with them all back and trying to nurse Shiro back to health. He wakes up and nobody's around, and he goes looking for Rin. And there's a final confrontation on the roof of a building where she's saying you got nothing left. Just go to the church. You'll be safe there. He wouldn't be safe there because Castor took over the church. Anyway, but just go wait it out until the war's over. You're done. You lost. It is what it is. But Shiro wants to save Saber. Shiro has made a pact with Rin. He's not going to be stopped. And then there's just did I say one of my favorite scenes? I said one of my favorite episodes. My favorite scene in one of my favorite episodes. You hear some music kind of kick in the background. Rin jumps off the top of the building only to be caught out of midair by Archer, who appears from nowhere, which he often does. And Rin looks back at Shiro and mouths something which we don't initially hear what she says. The music continues and is revealed to be a new version of the opening from the original Fate Stay Night. And it's so epic. It's an amazing song. And I would imagine that if you were somebody who watched the original Stay Night and then heard this would be just utterly mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is when I watch One Piece and they bust out We Are.
Gotcha.
That's that's so cool.
I think this is just a little different because it's not even the same show. It's a very cool piece of homage, but I get what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same show.
It's not the same studio. It's completely separate.
Okay.
Sorry.
But it's the same story, just retold differently.
For sure, yeah. I get that.
But it's pretty crazy.
Yes. And then it kind of flashes to show each of the masters and servants, getting ready for the rest of this war. Then they finally reveal what Rin says right at the end of the episode. And she says to Shiro, if you continue this, you will die. And, there it is laid out if he continues, he's going to die, and that does not stop him. So that part one finale is so sick. I love it. I really do. Moving into the second half of the show, they try to mount an attack on the church that Castor's now taken over, only to have Archer seemingly turncoat and switch with Castor. He says he wants to be on the side that's going to win. And this leads Rin and Shiro to be just alone. They got nothing left, either of them.
Yeah, well, they end up not being alone, though.
True. This gives us an awesome scene with them, back to back and kind of expressing their feelings for each other, especially Shiro. But after that is actually when they go to try to talk to Ilya, and then they witness that brutal murder, and then after that they end up teaming up with Lancer, and then they plan to go back to the the church. They're going to fight again. Rin will fight Castor. Shiro will fight Kuzuki, the teacher, who's revealed to be a crazy strong dude. He doesn't really seem to use magic, but he's just an incredible fighter.
Earlier in the show he holds his own against Saber.
Yes, yeah. And Lancer's gonna fight Archer, so that gives us that awesome Lancer-Archer fight you mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And then this fight leads to the biggest revelation in the show, and another one of my favorite moments. So to explain Shiro's power first, he's shown at the beginning of the show he like kind of can like trace the insides of something. He's not really creating anything at that time, but he like has the ability to like, I don't know, understand like.
I think he
how something's
reinforces
built.
it.
True too. Yes, actually. But I remember like he's at school like fixing an air conditioner with the power.
Yeah.
But eventually he can produce swords pretty much exactly like Archer does. Archer does help him out with the magic a little bit and opening his magic circuits or whatever. But he'll always say trace on when he's like, I guess, tracing how something's made, and then he'll make the swords. So we get this fight going on. The Lancer Archer fight is awesome. Lancer kind of wins, I would say. Like Archer's left with an arm that's busted up.
Yeah, he has to use like some shield that is broken forever.
Yeah, like his that might even be like technically a noble phantasm because you can have multiple.
I would say that Lancer wins that fight.
Yes, yeah. But then it's kind of like Archer says something about, haven't you noticed like Castor's not watching us anymore? And then Lancer's like, oh, was this your plan all along? And he's like, yeah, I said I wanted to be on the side that was going to win. So at that point, it's kind of like, okay, maybe Archer's still good.
And Lancer pieces out.
And Lancer just cruises the heck off.
Yeah.
So we get to the fight down in the church. Things are not going well. It looks like they're going to be beaten. And out of nowhere, a bunch of swords come and kill. Well, they're going for the teacher, but Castor jumps in front and kill her. But before this, we hear somebody say trace on, and it is not Shiro, and then all the swords come. And Castor's defeated, the teacher's defeated, awesome. Here is when Archer like really lays it down that he wants to kill Shiro. His pact with Rin has been broken. And he's gonna kill Shiro. That's
is at that point he's without the master?
Yes, yeah. Which might affect his power, but I don't know. But this also allows then Rin and Saber to form a pact, which is really, really cool. But it's around this time then that Rin's kind of talking. I think it's like just overdubbed. I'm not even sure if it's not to anybody. But she kind of, it seems to have figured out who Archer is, which I believe is true, even though you were saying you don't think it is.
Because she was like asking him questions.
Because she's trying to like get it out of him.
Yeah, I don't know. She just seemed like she wanted to know.
Regardless, it is revealed that, and maybe this didn't need to be revealed, but I think you and I both had, and I'm sure many viewers are thinking that, hey, these heroic spirits are figures from the past.
Yeah.
That does not have to be the case.
Yeah, they say at one spot right before the big, really like a hero can be anybody, past, present, or future.
Even somebody.
At that point, I said, oh, God, I know who Archer is. That's what I figured it out. I wish they definitely drop a lot of hints, and that Trace On is a big one.
It's awesome.
And the thing with the gem that she uses to save Shiro.
Yeah, so
suddenly being like,
you're saying it without saying it here. Let me
all right, lay it out. Lay it out.
Well, I wasn't done my story.
All right, well, lay out your story.
Now
man.
I forget where it was. No, it's okay. But yeah, it's at this point that, like you were saying, it's pretty well revealed that Archer is Shiro, which is okay. Come on,
it's a pretty big deal. Dude.
It's one of the craziest plot twists I've ever seen.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times in shows I figure out plot twists a little bit.
Yeah, you do a good job.
Well, I figured it out like a minute before.
Yeah.
But I'm usually pretty good at figuring out plot twists when they like lay stuff out. But for this, I just I didn't. And you're even to me. You're like, hey, remember that necklace, that pendant?
Yeah.
And I didn't I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then there's another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That Archer
gives
eventually returns.
Yeah, it's like, how did he have that? But also Shiro has one.
Yeah, I just thought, okay, she has two. Not like, how'd she get the second one?
Yeah.
How am I to know that that's the only one in existence?
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I mean, just completely and utterly mind blowing. One of my favorite twists ever. But then it's like, okay, well, why the heck does Archer want to kill Zero so
Yeah, he
bad?
wants to kill his past self.
So Archer has spent his life bound by the ideal of becoming a hero of justice, of fighting no matter what to save others. And this has led him down a path. It's not really, like, I don't know how to explain it. Truthfully, I'll do my very best. I don't think it's too clear in the show. But he is what they call a guardian, and he is sent to all different times to fight in wars, just endlessly. And it's not what being a hero of justice, meant to him. It's just become,
Yeah, he's like a weapon of war.
yeah, just war, always conflict.
Which all he wants to save people,
Yes.
not kill people.
So with that, Archer wants to kill Shiro to stop this from happening. Now, it probably won't change his fate, but he just now so utterly believes the opposite of this ideal and that this ideal is wrong, that he wants to kill Shiro. That's it. Whether it's to save this Shiro or just to kill the ideal or what, that then becomes our next big plot point. And it's then revealed that his main power is what they call a reality marble. I'll somewhat liken it to like a domain expansion in Jujutsu Kaisen. But it's a just complete different plane of existence. And in this, it's just a land of infinite swords, or as one might say, unlimited blade works.
That's the name of the show.
How about that? So Archer challenges Shiro to a fight, and they actually will give like a day or so. I don't remember what it is. But they end up back at, I think, Ilya's. I think they fight in that room, right? Because Archer's standing at the top of the stairs.
Yeah, because he throws down a sword and he says,
Kill yourself.
Kill yourself.
Yeah, before the fight. I don't remember how Rin gets captured either. Do you recall?
By, what's the asshole's name?
Shinji or the Kirie?
Kirie.
Okay.
He kidnaps her.
Yeah, so setting up to our second to final battle. Rin's captured by Kirie. Things aren't looking good there. Shinji's there and being weird. But Lancer comes out of nowhere and punches the heck out of Shinji. Great punch. Awesome punch.
Yeah.
And then...
Yeah, arguably the best Lancer moments
yeah,
here.
But then Kirie reveals that he killed Rin's father. And she's obviously upset by that as she learned from this man. But
How
also,
is it Shinji who kidnaps her?
Maybe it's Shinji.
I don't know. One of the...
No, I think it's got to be Kirie.
I guess.
Shinji's just there because Gilgamesh is there.
Okay.
But Lancer does the unthinkable. And I'll say now that a servant is tied to their master, so if the master dies, the servant's going to die too.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you want to say here? I'm just gonna...
Now,
So I don't remember the build-up, truthfully. So
I'm pretty sure at one part he uses a command seal on Lancer to kill Rin, and I'm pretty sure Lancer
Yes, yep. Yeah.
He stabs himself instead of her
Yes.
with his lance.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So it looks like Lancer's going to die.
But he's able to overpower the command seal by doing that.
Yes. But then, it looks like Lancer's going to die. And does he, set the basement on fire or something, Kirie? I think there's fire.
Or Shinji does. One of them.
No,
does.
Shinji's knocked out.
Okay, I don't know. I guess we should have watched this episode too.
Probably. The punch to Shinji's face is animated so well. It's so fun to see his face.
Yeah,
just
they
get
probably had fun with
crushed
it. I
in.
had fun with it too.
Yeah, so
Let's
good.
be honest here.
But Lancer, in his dyingness, goes against his master and kills Kirie, which is his all-defining moment to save Rin. Which is, that's when you realize it's not Kirie's route at all. That this is how he's going to
it's
die.
Lancer's route.
True. But yeah, Lancer saves Rin with his dying breath. I mean, not really his dying breath. He does talk a little more after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's free, so that's great. But then that leads us to our second to last battle, Shiro versus Archer in the Reality Marvel Unlimited Blade Works. Really, really awesome fight, just going back and forth with a billion different swords and arguing over the ideal, only to eventually have Shiro come out victorious.
Which one?
The one that's not named Archer.
He's named Shiro too.
Well, but yeah, great fight. Probably should have watched that too. Yeah, we should have just watched the episode.
It is a great fight. I do remember that one enough.
Yeah. But really incredible. Shiro comes out on top, and that leads us to what's going to be the final bout.
Now, here's my question, or we could save that for questions posed.
What?
Mine's more of a literal question.
Okay.
Do we think that Archer had to do the same when he was Shiro?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to
Did
it.
he have to fight another version of himself?
Yeah.
And my other question is, do you think, which I'd like to believe, that Shiro broke that cycle, if there is one?
Well, that we can talk about later.
Okay.
The first answer is maybe, but also I think that Archer has been doing what he's been doing for so long that he truthfully does not really remember much of his actual life. But yeah, the second question we'll get into in the questions posed section. So, leading us to our final battle, it's Gilgamesh is building the Grail with Ilya's heart and Shinji. He turns into like a giant blob monster. The Grail's really odd. I don't really understand the Grail.
Yeah,
it's
I
not
used to
really
think
what
it
they
was
had
like
hoped
a
for.
chest, like a golden chest.
Well, yeah, you would think, or like a chalice. It's just utter evil, and it's like feeding off of like everybody's negative wishes, and it's just a bad thing, and it needs to go away. So you got your two.
But it could give you a wish.
Maybe you got your two teams: Rin and Saber versus the Grail, and then Shiro versus Gilgamesh. So Rin goes in to try to just rip Shinji out of the Grail. It doesn't really help. It just kind of turns the Grail into a monster. It looks like maybe she's going to die because she can't get out of this giant pool of hot, melting, like blood or liquid.
It's gross, whatever it is.
And
I'd almost rather be in the other fight.
Saber's going to be there to use the rest of her power to destroy the Grail. And it looks like she's going to have to do it with Rin still kind of inside of it, and she's going to die. But then out of nowhere, some arrows come and like make a path for Rin. And you hear Archer's voice, but you don't see anything. That was really cool. So that saves her. She then gives Saber the rest of her power, the rest of her magic, to use her noble phantasm, which is Excalibur, to destroy the Grail, which works. And then, unfortunately, Saber is dusted away, as many of the other servants have been.
Was that because the Grail War's over?
I guess, but also Gilgamesh doesn't... I don't know.
Well, Gilgamesh
Well, I guess
the
maybe
rules all
she
the
uses the
time.
rest of her magic and there's nothing left to feed off of, maybe.
Ow.
But yes, Gilgamesh does break the rules all the time. And yeah, that then leads us to the final bout in the Reality Marble, this time used by Shiro, Unlimited Blade Works. Gilgamesh versus Shiro. And Gilgamesh has all of his real weapons and is just appalled by the fact that Shiro just copies weapons, calling him a fake and all this stuff. Very interesting. And in the fight, Shiro talks a ton of trash about how if it was anybody else, he would not be able to beat them. But because it's Gilgamesh, who was always a king and never took the time to master his craft, he has the weapons but never mastered any of them, is that he can beat them. So it's a super cool fight. There's parts where Gilgamesh is shooting 8 million different swords at Shiro. I almost called him Shinji. Shiro. And it's unfortunate they used the name of the protagonist from Ava as the bad person.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little worried when they had a guy named Issei.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, you're going to ruin High School DxD for me. But
Nah,
Issei's
fine.
I mean, he's not really relevant. But
Shinji sucks.
he's just a good guy.
Not that my Shinji is
the
the greatest, but this Shinji
He's not
sucks.
a bad guy. This Shinji's the worst.
Yeah. Anyway.
The worst Shinji I ever met.
But Shiro's as the swords are flying toward him, he copies them so fast and flies them right back at their own self, which is super, super cool. and leads to the final attack, which is Gilgamesh finally brings out his like ultimate weapon sword, which we don't really get to see too much of. And just as he's doing that, Shiro cuts off his arm with it and defeats him. Reality Marvel ends. They end up back in the real world, and the Grail is like sucking Gilgamesh in after it's been defeated by Saber. I don't really know why. And it's sucking him in, and then he shoots like a chain and grabs Shiro, and it's like, oh my god, like they're gonna go in together. This is gonna be the end. And then you hear a voice once again that says like, move to your left, and Shiro like kind of does, and then a sword flies and hits Gilgamesh right in the middle of the face, and that's that. He ends up dead. And the voice was that of Archer once again. So that finishes our final fight. It was incredible. Really, really awesome. You know, Shiro was able to use his power to defeat what was the strongest warrior, the strongest servant, but also was the perfect matchup for him. So really incredible stuff there. You then get a final goodbye with Archer and Rin, which is awesome, and she like wants to make another pact with him and get him to stay, but he can't. You know, he says that his job's over. You know, it's done. He lost. Just kind of has to let go of everything, and it's at this point that his face actually looks like Shiro.
Mm-hmm.
Like throughout the rest of it, he doesn't really too much, but it's super cool to see that. And you know, he says, "Take care of Shiro."
He says, "Take care of me."
That's in the English dub. He doesn't say that.
Oh,
I don't like that.
I like that.
But yeah, it's a really emotional goodbye. She says she'll take care of him, turns around, and there he is all bloody, and he's like, let's go home. Like, they're done.
Yeah, let's skedaddle.
But really, really awesome. Really awesome final goodbye from Archer. It's not really explained how he was able to push past and come back for a little bit longer and help him.
Sheer resilience.
But yeah, exactly what I was going to say. Is like my speculation is like, yeah, his utter resilience in the face of true death. Which was really cool. And then they give us an awesome epilogue episode where it's a couple years in the future. Rin's at like a magic school that Shiro was also able to attend.
At Hogwarts.
Pretty much. And he's offered a actual acceptance into the school, but he declines it, and that means they're going to leave. I don't know why. It's all the magic politics stuff. It's explained a little more in Zero because some of the people are from the magic school. But, you know, it's awesome to see them two together. I think it's a satisfying ending and future for both of them. There's a really, really cool thing right at the end where they take a trip and they actually go to the schools in England because, you know, it's pretty much Hogwarts. It really, pretty much is.
Not that
but there's like a memorial for King Arthur that they go to together, which is really cool. Awesome way to end things. You know, he never got to say his final goodbye to Saber, but that kind of gives him the opportunity to. And it's you know, an end with a hopeful future. So I really enjoy that. And I think it's a very satisfying conclusion. I hope it's the mid-tier ending, but it's probably the good ending.
I think that's a good ending now.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, a sucker for a happy ending.
Yeah.
I'd say
the only other thing could have been Saber lived too, but you know.
She doesn't have. There's not room in their relationship for three.
That's fair, yeah.
Like, that's going to be awkward for Saber with, like,
Rin route, yeah.
Rin and Shiro are starting a new life, and then what is she, just, like...
Just there.
Yeah.
I mean, Saber even kind of says that she's disappearing, like, she's not no place with them. But yeah, really incredible stuff. Any thoughts on the ending before we get into the closing
like
remarks?
I said, I liked it. It was relatively happy, which, I mean, it's not always necessarily a happy ending makes a good ending, but this one I'd say is a good and a happy ending, which I like. I don't like a bad ending that's happy.
Yeah.
And I do like a good ending that's sad. I just like it to be good. But it is good. I'd say it's good.
Very nice. So yeah, we'll talk. I just wanted to pose some somewhat philosophical questions here before we leave that I kind of take from the show, and I think it's like deeper meaning of it. Is it wrong to live for a goal that's not your own? So it's talked about throughout that, you know, Shiro's goal is not his own. It was that of the man who raised him, and you know, because of that, it's fake, like these ideals. But he grapples with that throughout, and I truly think there's an easy answer to this. I mean, I would say that, you know, it doesn't have to be the the goal that you came up with. Like, he looked up to this man so much. This man saved his life by being his hero. That I think it's, incredible to be so driven by that then same goal. And I think Shiro comes to the same conclusion with that.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree there. It really doesn't matter where the goal originates from. If you take inspiration from someone or something, there's nothing wrong with really following that. And if you're trying to help or complete somebody else's goals that you took inspiration of, there's nothing wrong with that, which we'll talk about in one of our other shows.
Yeah. Second question I have, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you were saying. Would you continue to strive for a goal even if it will surely put you through hell? So this is, Shiro seeing what he will become if he continues following this ideal. A man filled with anguish, whose sole goal is to kill him because he had the ideal in the first place, and yet he just continues onward through it. So it is here that I'll say, I don't know that he follows a different path. I truthfully don't think he does.
Do you think he does going to do the same thing?
I think it might, yeah. I don't know. Maybe...
I mean, it's just if we knew more about, Archer's past before he was a Guardian.
Yeah.
If we knew, is it the exact same thing that happened? Because I think he's got, a good, a good support system with Rin there to help him make the right decision. Which is possible, and maybe he won't want to be a Guardian and all because he'll want to be with her.
Yeah, maybe things will go down differently. Maybe that's a different... I mean, obviously, the show's not scared of having multiple endings and multiple paths.
Yeah, so I really feel
maybe
like
that's him from another path.
Yeah, it could be him, but even because if it's the exact same Archer that he's going to become, it would have to have been the same for Archer. Archer would have had to go fight his future self, and it would just be an endless loop. But I like to think that he will turn out differently.
Yeah, I would hope so, because I don't think, obviously the Indomitable Spirit's incredible and it's an awesome aspect of his character, but if it will truly lead him to become that, I don't think it is right to continue to strive.
Yeah, maybe it's better to just
Though Archer's ending is fine, he accepts and moves on. I still don't think it's a happy ending.
I just like to think if when the opportunity presents itself for Shiro to go make the same decisions that Archer did and go do all these things, now that he knows what it's going to be, that it's not going to be saving people, it's going to be killing people, he'll be maybe not today.
Yeah,
I could be a firefighter.
Yeah,
he could help people on a maybe a smaller scale, but help people in a non-violent way.
Yeah, for sure. So that's pretty much all I have. These last couple notes are just some light things. UFO Table did the animation for the studio, and they did such an incredible job. This show is so beautiful. The fights are animated gorgeously. I really, really love their work. The films are also incredible, and I mean maybe better just because they pump a little bit more money and time into movies.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they did such an amazing job, and to our listeners, you've likely seen them animate Demon Slayer, which also has absolutely jaw-dropping animation and fights. And Demon Slayer's next arc is split into 3 movies, much like Heaven's Feel was for this. So I truly have sky-high expectations for what they'll do. They're really incredible studio. And they do, in my opinion, an excellent job of being able to blend some computer-generated stuff in with their actual animation, more so than many studios can. And then also all the music was awesome. The score's great. The second opening, Brave Shine by Amir, is one of my favorites of all time. And then the song from the midpoint, from the original Fate, is redone by J-pop star Lisa, and it is incredible. Really, really good stuff. So those are just some little extra things that really, really make the show for me. But talked for a long time there, huh?
Yeah, I mean it was a longer episode, but it's nice. You're something you're passionate about, and I'd say it was a good episode.
Thank you, appreciate it. Hopefully you guys think the same.
Great intro today. I mean, it's something different.
I think maybe we'll continue fun stuff like that. Yeah. But I mean, in ending, we'll just say, check us out on Instagram. Did we shout it out last week? Yeah, we did. Right?
Yeah, we did. Just say, hey, we made an Instagram.
Yeah.
It's at the Super Anime Bros Podcast on Instagram.
Yeah, we're gonna try to post consistently over there and just kind of grow our show as best we can. So anything that you guys will do to help that, we really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, if you could give us a follow and a like on if you like any of our posts, that'd be awesome. That'd be sick.
All right. That's really all we have for today. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with either a recap of some of the shows we're watching thus far this season or our next deep dive. We'll discuss this week and figure it out. But as always, we really appreciate you guys.
Peace.
Peace.